If life is so short, what truly matters? A Buddhist wisdom. The one truth no one can escape. Time doesn't wait for anyone. You breathe, and the moment is already gone. But what's more unsettling isn't the passing of time. It's that everything we hold dear is slipping away with it. Youth fades, relationships change, bodies age, fame, wealth, even identity. None of it stays. And yet we live as if these things will last forever. The Buddha saw this clearly. He named it Anicca, the law of impermanence. From the tiniest dust particle to the largest star, from a fleeting thought to a lifelong friendship, everything changes. Nothing remains. That's why he taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. But here's the contradiction. Even though we live in a world that constantly shifts, we keep trying to make things stay. We chase stability, permanence, and certainty, where none exist. We spend years building careers, collecting things, growing reputations. Then, when those things change or disappear, as they always do, we suffer. Why? Because we believed they would last. We believed they were ours. But the problem is not time running out. The deeper question is, what are we doing with the time we have? If today were your last day, what would still feel unfinished? Philosophers like the Stoics saw this too. They taught that death is not to be feared, and that we should live each day with intention. They reminded us to focus only on what we can control, our choices, our integrity, and to release what we cannot, like loss or aging. But while Stoicism teaches acceptance, Buddhism takes us further. It asks us to understand impermanence so deeply that we are no longer trapped by it. It's not about accepting change with a stiff upper lip. It's about letting the truth of impermanence reshape the way we see, act, and live, moment by moment. The truth of change isn't here to make us hopeless. It's here to wake us up, to remind us that this moment, right now, is a gift that will never come again. Every breath you take is already gone. So, what are you doing with it? When we stop clinging to fantasies of permanence, we stop postponing life. We stop chasing distractions and start living with clarity. This doesn't mean we avoid pain or sadness. It means we meet them with wisdom. Because when you see clearly that everything passes, you also begin to see what truly matters. The shadow we mistake for ourselves. We spend so much of our lives chasing something, recognition, success, approval. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is doing the chasing? Most people never do. That's because the one chasing isn't really us. It's something we've built, a mental image. A voice in the mind that says, you need to prove yourself. You must be remembered. You are not enough yet. That voice, that shadow, is what we call the ego. The ego is not your true self. It's just a shape we've made out of fear and desire. We want to be noticed. We want to matter. We fear being forgotten. So we build a story about who we are, then spend our entire lives defending it. We shape how we look, what we say, what we do, all to protect this image. But underneath it all, we're exhausted. Not because we're weak, but because we're trying to hold up something that isn't real. The Buddha saw this long ago. He taught that what we call self is just a combination of 5 constantly changing elements: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These are called the five aggregates. They aren't stable. They don't last. They don't belong to us. Form is the body, changing every moment. Feeling shifts with each experience. Perception labels and judges. Mental formations react and shape habit. Consciousness simply notices, always moving, never fixed. As the Buddha said, form is impermanent, feeling is impermanent, perception is impermanent, mental formations are impermanent, consciousness is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self is not mine. I am not that. That is not myself. The ego, then, is just an arrangement of these unstable parts. It has no core, no center, no lasting identity. It's not a soul. It's not something eternal, as some beliefs might suggest. It's a process, a flow of mental and physical habits, fed by wanting and fear. It rises and falls, just like everything else. Even in modern psychology, thinkers like Carl Jung and others have explored this idea. While they use different language, many agree the self we defend so hard is only a part of us. It's not the full picture. It's a survival mask, shaped by memory, expectation, and emotion. The fear of being no one. The hunger to be someone. These are the ego's ways of proving it exists, despite the fact that it never truly does. And when you see this, not just as an idea, but as a fact of experience, it changes everything. You no longer have to protect the story. You no longer have to win or be seen. You can let go of the weight you've been carrying. You can finally rest. Because the one who was struggling so hard to be someone was never really you. Why letting go isn't loss, it's freedom. We usually think that losing something is painful. When things fall apart, our plans, relationships, or possessions, we often feel like something has gone wrong. But what if that moment of losing was not the end, but the beginning of something real? What if the very act of letting go could open the door to a kind of freedom we've never known? In Buddhism, the problem of suffering doesn't come from having too little. It comes from craving, a deep, restless hunger to hold on to what cannot be held. The Buddha didn't teach us to end suffering by gaining more or by fixing the outside world. He pointed us inward, toward the root cause. Craving is the origin of suffering. This craving, called tanha, is not just about wanting a car or a job. It's much deeper. It includes the urge to keep existing, to protect our identity, and even the strange wish to disappear when things get too hard. We grasp at experiences, relationships, identities, and even our own bodies, trying to make them mine. But the truth is, none of it stays. And none of it was truly ours to begin with. The Buddha also said, not to get what one wants. That too is suffering. Wanting itself carries the seed of pain. We think we suffer because we don't have something, but often we suffer because we want it in the first place. Once you see that, the whole structure of craving begins to shake. Even ancient philosophers questioned whether we can truly possess anything. The skeptics doubted whether we can fully know or control the world. But where skepticism often ends in uncertainty and paralysis, the Buddha offers a clear and active path. Let go. Hedonism, on the other hand, seeks peace by chasing pleasure. Buddhism turns that idea inside out. It teaches that peace comes not by feeding the self, but by seeing that the self we cling to isn't solid to begin with. Letting go isn't a passive act. It's not about giving up or turning cold. It's an act of wisdom. To let go is to see clearly that things are changing, unreliable, and not truly ours. When we stop holding on, something beautiful happens. We don't become empty, we become spacious. And in that space there's calm, there's kindness, there's clarity. This is not escape. It's not detachment in the cold sense. It's a radical shift from grasping to understanding, from chasing life to seeing it as it is. And that, deeply and quietly, is the beginning of real freedom. The Noble Eightfold Path, living with clarity, not control. Once we stop holding on, something quietly shifts. We no longer live to prove ourselves. We no longer arrange our lives around fear. Instead of trying to protect some image of me, we begin to live more naturally, more honestly. It's like a stream flowing downhill. It doesn't force its way, but over time, it wears away even the hardest rock. This kind of ease is not laziness. It is strength without aggression. The Buddha called it the Noble Eightfold Path, not a belief system, but a way of being. This path isn't a checklist. It's a way to live that gradually frees us from confusion and suffering. The Buddha described it clearly: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These 8 parts support one another, like the spokes of a wheel. Practicing one helps the others grow stronger. Right view is the foundation. It's not about agreeing with Buddhist ideas. It means directly seeing the truth of impermanence, suffering, and the absence of a fixed self. This isn't something we can memorize. It's something we learn by looking deeply into our own experience. We begin by listening, reflecting, and then looking inward. Is this true in my own life? From that understanding comes right intention. This isn't just what we hope to do, but what quietly shapes our speech and actions. Are we guided by kindness or by fear? Are we moved by greed or by a wish to be of benefit? We start to notice the quality of our inner compass. Then comes right speech. This isn't just about being polite. It's about using words in ways that are honest, timely, and helpful. We learn to pause before we speak, to ask ourselves, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind? We avoid gossip, harsh words, and empty chatter. Not to follow a rule, but because we see how words can either build peace or feed confusion. Right action is how our body expresses what's in our heart. We refrain from harming, stealing, or misusing our sexuality, not out of guilt, but from awareness. These choices protect our mind from regret. They create the conditions for a clear, open life. Right livelihood brings that same awareness into how we earn a living. It means not profiting from killing, deceit, or harm. But deeper than that, it asks, does my work help others or harm them? Am I creating more suffering in the world or less? This is not about being perfect. It's about aligning our life with our values, step by step. Then comes right effort. Not all effort leads to wisdom. This is the effort to guard the mind. We notice unwholesome thoughts before they take root. We strengthen wholesome qualities, like patience, honesty, and compassion, until they become second nature. It's a quiet discipline, like tending a fire. Right mindfulness is the heart of the path. It means remembering to come back, again and again, to the present moment. We pay attention to the breath, the body, thoughts, emotions, whatever arises. But we do so without judgment, just noticing. This soft, stable attention is what allows wisdom to arise. Whether we're meditating, washing dishes, or walking to work, we practice being here. Right concentration is the deepening of that attention. It means training the mind to stay with one thing, steadily and calmly. This isn't about zoning out. It's about developing a mind that can rest. A peaceful mind sees more clearly. From that stillness, insight comes more naturally. When these 8 paths begin to work together, we start to live more lightly. Not because we escape the world, but because we no longer live through clinging. The Buddha never asked, "What do you want?" He asked something much deeper. What will you do when you realize that nothing you cling to can save you? This is not a question of despair. It's a question of liberation. When we stop living to protect an ego, something else appears: stillness, honesty, kindness. We don't become perfect, but we stop being controlled by fear. That's what it means to live with clarity. And that's where freedom begins. What truly matters? Freedom from suffering. If life is short, what truly matters? According to the Buddha, the answer is not wealth, fame, or even happiness. What truly matters is freedom from suffering. This is not a poetic idea. It's a real state of mind called nibbana, a deep peace that isn't touched by birth, aging, sickness, or death. But nibbana isn't a place you go to after death. It's not a reward. It's not a fantasy. It's a state of mind you can realize in this very life. It becomes possible when the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion, the 3 poisons, are fully extinguished. These poisons aren't just emotions. They are the fuel that keeps the cycle of suffering alive. Greed keeps us chasing. Hatred hardens our hearts. Delusion keeps us lost, thinking what is impermanent can last. When these fires die out, something quiet begins to emerge. The mind becomes simple, still, and clear. Not numb, not empty, but open. This is not the same as having no desires. It's about not being trapped by them. It's the end of clinging. And this, the Buddha taught, is true peace. To move toward that peace, we need to grow 2 essential qualities. The first is wisdom, not just knowledge, but a living understanding of the 4 noble truths. Seeing clearly how craving creates suffering. Seeing that all things are impermanent and without a fixed self. This kind of wisdom isn't theoretical. It's sharpened through practice, through watching the mind moment by moment. The second is compassion, a deep care for the well-being of all beings. It's not pity, and it's not personal. It's the wish for others to be free from suffering, even when they're difficult to love. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Compassion without wisdom becomes blind. But when both grow together, they bring balance to the path. In Buddhism, even death is a teacher. The Buddha often reminded his disciples, reflect on death daily, not to be afraid, but to wake up. He said, you could die in the time it takes to breathe in and out. When we take that seriously, we stop wasting time. We stop clinging to what doesn't last. Many religions look to a creator or promise an eternal life after death. Buddhism does something different. It turns our attention inward, not to escape the world, but to transform our relationship with it. The goal is not to be saved by something outside, but to free ourselves by deeply understanding the nature of mind. Some Western philosophies, like existentialism, also speak about freedom, but they often leave people with no ground to stand on, just the heavy task of inventing meaning in a meaningless world. Buddhism offers something else, not just creating meaning, but transcending the whole idea of meaning and meaninglessness. When suffering ends, you don't need meaning. You are free. Life is short, but short doesn't mean small. It's long enough to wake up, long enough to practice, long enough to see clearly what matters. Each breath becomes a chance to return to the present. Each moment becomes a doorway to wisdom and kindness. So live with care. Don't wait. Watch your mind. Soften your heart. Let go of what you can't keep. And above all, don't forget, the goal is not to live forever. The goal is to live wisely, fully, and free from suffering, starting now.